Welcome to tutorial hell.
Welcome to hell, mother.
We're stepping off the bus. We have no idea how we got here. We just know that we were following some tutorials, and then all of a sudden we have this unique thing that we're trying to implement, and we have no idea how to do it. This is tutorial hell. We've all been there. Not one single game developer can tell you that they've done it perfectly from the beginning to the release of their game. Tutorial hell is a place that we all fall into, but I'm going to show you some practical ways to make it repeatable to where you can learn effectively on any topic and how to apply everything that you learn to your own projects. So tutorial hell is the over-reliance of tutorials, and it has given us a false sense of progress. Some telltale signs that you are stuck in tutorial hell is that you have a project, you started following along with the tutorial, you've implemented some code, and you've put some pieces together and things are working, but now you have a very specific problem that you want to solve. It's something that's unique to your game, and you don't know how to implement it. In fact, whenever you look at the project of the code that you've written already, you don't know how it works. You don't know how the game objects connect to it, and here's where we start to feel overwhelmed. And so let's figure out, how do we actually get out of this? How do we learn effectively with tutorials? So we need to go ahead and kind of shift how we think about tutorials right now, because it's pretty popular to say that tutorials are bad because you're going to get stuck in tutorial hell and you're learning wrong and you're doing it wrong. Let's get rid of those voices really quickly. Let's reframe this. Tutorials are good for starting points and understanding complex systems. But what we need to remember is that tutorials are basically like recipes. They show us the basics of how to do something, and then we go along and we experiment and try something new from the information that we've learned from that tutorial. So let's say that you're making spaghetti. You've never made spaghetti before. Where do you start? You know that there's some noodles in it. You know that there's some sauce. Maybe you like meat in your sauce, but you're not exactly sure of how to flavor that and make it right. You want this to be a good experience. And you use a recipe or a tutorial to help you with that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But the next time that we make spaghetti, we're going to go ahead and we're going to try some things out. Maybe we're going to break the noodles this time and throw them in the pot. Don't do that. Okay, stop. What I want to do is I want to show you a learning process, how you can approach tutorials in a way of following along with the recipe, following along with the tutorial, but then how to actually experiment and learn from those tutorials. All right, so let's go ahead and create a learning process that is practical and repeatable for any project, so that way we can learn effectively. So there are 4 steps that I typically take whenever I am looking at tutorials. The first step is going to seem pretty obvious, but there's a really important reason that I do it. The first step is to pick tutorials strategically. And what I mean by this is I'm going to match the context of my project with the context of the tutorial, and they must match, okay? What I mean by that is, let's say that I want to learn about tile maps. And if I pick a tutorial where they're teaching me about tile maps, but they're building a 2D top-down game, but I'm building a 2D platform game, the context is not going to match. Now, I can still learn from that tutorial, but it's going to be a little difficult. I might start making some mistakes where I'm building the tile maps and I'm learning how to build perhaps the art, and I built it for a top-down game, and then I put it in my 2D game and I go, wait, this doesn't look right. Okay? Try to match the context of the tutorial with the project that you're working on. Now, I know that you're probably saying, well, won't I just fall into tutorial hell again? I'm just going to follow the steps that they did, and it's just going to be in my project, and I'm here again and I'm stuck. You could if you don't follow the rest of the steps. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so the second step is going to be learn and apply. We want to follow the tutorial, and that seems pretty obvious, but where we do things a little bit differently now is that we're going to take what we've learned from that tutorial and we're going to apply it in a completely different project. Now, what I highly recommend that you do is go onto the Unity Asset Store, the Unreal Engine Marketplace, I think it's called Fab now, or Kenny Assets, Kenney, on that, and just download these assets that you could use for a prototype learning project. Have that project on your computer, use it all the time. So in a case where, let's say I'm building tile maps, I want to get assets that I can use, put them into my learning prototype scene, and follow along with that tutorial using their project files if I want to, or take what I've learned and use my own project. That's going to help solidify the ideas and help me to move on and learn from that project. Hey, sorry for the interruption, but if you're looking for Unity assets, there's this great bundle that's going on right now. The minimum is $1, but you can donate as much as you want to that bundle. It's only available until January 30th, so I highly recommend that you check it out. If you are going to buy something from that bundle, go ahead and use the link that's in the card or in the description here, and that really helps out the channel, and it just gives me a small commission from that. So thanks, and let's get back to the video. So now the third step is to experiment and reflect. And this is the fun part because this is where we get to break stuff and learn from our mistakes. So you're going to do things like change variables, you're going to add features, you're going to rework the project perhaps. This is where real learning happens. And so it's really important here to make sure you're in like your learning prototype project. You're not afraid to break anything. It's just a full-on playground. That's why I stress having a learning prototype scene. So break stuff, ask questions. What happens if I do this? Oh, what if I could do that? You're in this free space. There's no consequences. That's the problem with using tutorial projects, is that there could be consequences to the learning from that. And so if you break too much, you're trying to fix things and then you get demotivated and then you move on and you stop with the tutorial. Now, the fourth and final step is going to be repeat and build confidence. As you iterate, you're going to take what you've learned from the tutorial and from your own learning project, and you're going to take that information and you're going to bring it into your actual project. This is where the stakes become higher, and you start thinking about the problem differently, and you start seeing your project differently, and you see the context that your project has, and you can take that information and actually solve a problem. So you're going to depend less on tutorials and more on your own problem-solving skills. Now, if you really want to take things up a notch, teach someone else. Create a video on how to do this specific thing that you just learned about. You don't have to share it with anyone. It would be great if you did, but create a video. The pressure of trying to teach someone else really elevates how you learn. And I've been doing this for over 15 years. I've been teaching in the classroom, online, and in actual companies, going and consulting and teaching them how to use certain projects and certain tools inside of Unity. And you can't imagine what you learn from trying to teach others. So, like I said, if you want that multiplier, teach somebody else. And if you do, share it. I want to see how you do. I want to see what you're learning. So make sure you share that in the Discord. All right, so you have this great learning framework with 4 easy steps, and you're going to be able to follow it perfectly every single time. Well, I'm being sarcastic because we all fall into the trap of tutorial hell every now and then, okay? Even as we gain experience, we're still going to fall into that trap with something new because life happens, there's milestones, there's deadlines that are coming up, and we just want to get through this problem and move on to the next one. And that's just going to happen, but I'm going to give you 3 tips that you can use to avoid tutorial hell and kind of help you get out of that faster. So the first tip is to limit the number of tutorials that you consume in a row on a particular topic. So for example, if you're working on tile maps, you kind of have an idea on how to work with tile maps already, and now you're trying to get yourself a refresher on the information, and then you're just going to consume 1 tutorial for this topic because you know it, and you're going to go into your learning prototype and you're going to try that out and experiment. And then you're going to say, all right, I'm going to limit the tutorials that I look at from now on. I'm going to try to figure out the next problem on my own. Giving yourself that time to exercise your brain and to stretch things out and to really wrestle with the problem is where real learning happens. So limit the number of tutorials that you consume in a row. The second tip is to create checkpoints because some videos are really, really long. I've seen videos that are like an hour long, and I can't possibly imagine going 1 full hour without a break. So you as a learner need to create your own natural learning checkpoints. So as you see a topic coming up, take a moment, pause the video, and then try to work it out on that particular topic. Go into your learning prototype, try to apply what you've learned, and then once you've applied that, you understand it, go back to the tutorial and let it play. Find another checkpoint, try it out. Now, the third step is to focus on the why. This is huge. If you focus on the why of the topic instead of the how, you're going to come out of this learning experience with so much confidence and so much knowledge that you're going to be unstoppable with your problem-solving skills. So focus on the why. The way that you can do that is as the instructor is going through their tutorial, you're writing down why this. Okay, so they're talking about this topic. Why are they doing it that way? Do some research. If they don't explain it, the why, do your own research because it's just going to help you out. You can find it from different perspectives and to really grasp the why of that tutorial. So I want to leave you with a little bit of encouragement as you're going through this learning process. Remember that learning game development is just messy. There's a lot of mistakes that you're going to make. There's going to be a lot of struggles, and it's really nothing to get really too down about because there is light at the end of the tunnel. I've been an educator and game developer for over 15 years, and I've been through it all. I've gone through times where I just didn't feel like I was good enough and I didn't feel like I had the right solution. I would get a comment saying, hey, you could do this a little bit better in this way. And while they were right, I took that too personally. And there are times where you're just going to feel stuck. And the thing to remember is that from here on out, you are separating yourself from the rest of those who are going to quit. And if you don't quit, you continue to embrace the struggle and embrace the mistakes, you're on your way to becoming the game developer that you want to be. So I say that with just a wholehearted, good luck. I hope that you get through whatever struggle it is that you're going through right now. I hope that you learn what it is that you're trying to learn and you solve that problem and that solution comes to you. And then you have this moment where you just fall in love with game development all over again. So just to remember in this video, tutorials aren't bad. Use them as tools, not as crutches. What's your biggest struggle whenever you're learning game development or learning from tutorials? I want to hear your comments below and I want to be able to address those and hear your perspectives. So thank you very much for being here and I'll see you next time.